8% of the precincts in here, and we have what you can see with William Menon, 34% of the vote. The Republicans there on top, Mellick, and that one pretty much wrapped up at this point.
Yeah, county level races happening in New Jersey tonight, and also Hunterdon County freeholders race to fill an unexpired term. This one is about over in favor of Robert Walton, the Republican, with apparently a defeat of Democrat Samuel Thompson. The freeholders race in Hunterdon for that one unexpired term.
All right, let's take a look at Pennsylvania once again. This is for the U.S. Senator seat to fill Arlen Specter's seat. You can see 20% of the precincts reporting Sestak still off to the early lead, but that gap does appear to be closing. If I can recall what we saw before, Sestak with 55% right now, the Toomey's 45%. And as you heard in a lot of these cases, as we were talking, Democrats off and off to the the early lead in these statewide races because the urban area is reporting first, and then we hear from the suburbs. So that could change.
Could change. The Toomey people say they're optimistic.
Yes.
We'll keep following it for you, that race and many others tonight when we come right back with more of Election Central.
Up-to-the-minute election results from throughout the region. This is 69 News Election Central.
All right, and welcome back to Election Central. A lot of the numbers just starting to trickle in. However, some of the races already seem to be decided for the most part, and this appears to be one of them.
It does look like this is not going to be terribly difficult for Republican incumbent Pat Brown to win another term as the state senator in the 16th district, running against Rick Orlowski, who's made a number of attempts for public office, but it's not going well for Orlowski.
All right, here's another one with about 3/4 of the precincts in here for the 18th district for Pennsylvania State Senator Lisa Boscola, the incumbent here, with about almost 2/3 of the vote here, going up against Matt Conley, a race car driver going for his first shot at office.
She's putting the brakes on him tonight.
Yes, apparently so.
Sorry about that. All right, so those are the two Lehigh Valley area state Senate races. Let's jump back to Congress. A big one tonight, and it may be a close one and a long extended one, and that's Mike Fitzpatrick trying to regain the 8th district seat. Patrick Murphy unseated him back in 06. Here's the rematch, and Fitzpatrick now has the lead, 52% to 48%, and we're just up to near 40% of the precincts counted. So this could be a long night, and we mentioned the problem with some absentee ballots. 8,500 or so have been sequestered, impounded by the county election office for counting tomorrow or later. So you see how tight the margin is. Those absentee ballots could really be a big deal here.
If the numbers stay this close, it definitely will be. We'll be watching tomorrow as they count. All right, and let's head out to Murphy headquarters right now. Dwayne Parker is standing by live in Bristol, Bucks County. Hi, Dwayne.
Good evening, Robin, Wendy. It's pretty festive here right now at the moment. We are at the Italian Mutual Aid Social Club in Bristol, Bucks County, where the majority of Congressman Patrick Murphy supporters have been arriving. There are not a lot of people here at the moment, like I said, but throughout the night, many people have been arriving steadily. Now, if you will remember, this has been a heavily contested race for this 8th district just this weekend. There were allegations of falsification and forgery of absentee ballots, and just today, several people were complaining that they showed up at the booths and couldn't cast their vote. Right now we have with us to talk about that Get Out the Vote effort, Mr. Dan Haney. He is with the with the SEIU Healthcare PA to talk to us about this Get Out the Vote effort. How important would you say it is that you got as many people out to the booths as possible today?
Oh, it's extremely important. The bottom line is we have to keep Patrick Murphy's agenda going here in Bucks County, and it was very important to get everybody out to vote and get his message out.
While you were pounding the pavement, did you encounter any people that say, yes, I did have problems when I showed up at the booth, we need help?
No, actually, I didn't. You know, it was fine. People got the polling, as far as I know, without any issues.
Now, what do you estimate your chances are of winning? You are a Murphy supporter, and I'm sure you're hoping that he really pulls through tonight.
Well, with everybody that I spoke to, I'm very confident. He had broad support from Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. I can't see why he can't pull this out tonight.
Very good. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Dan Heine. He is with the SEIU Healthcare PA, talking to us about this Get Out the Vote effort in this heavily contested race here in the 8th District. We'll be here throughout the entire night, watching this race very closely, and when we get more information, we'll definitely bring it right to you, back to you guys in the studio.
Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne. That's the 8th District race, very close, and Mike Fitzpatrick, who once held that position, is in the lead again now. Last time we checked, Stephanie Esposito is covering Mike Fitzpatrick and other Republicans at the Bucks Republican headquarters in Doylestown. Steph?
That's right, Rob. I'm here at the Bucks County Republican headquarters in Doylestown, and right now they are reporting 56% of the precincts in Bucks County have been reported, and they are saying that Mike Fitzpatrick is up by about 12,000 votes. Now, that doesn't count Philadelphia and Montgomery counties, so there is still a chance that they won't have a winner tonight, and that's because there are allegations of voter fraud, and 8,000 absentee ballots will not be counted until tomorrow. I have with me right now the Vice Chair of the Republican Party here in Bucks County, Pat Borick. Pat, can you tell me what's going on in Philadelphia and Montgomery County? You've reported Bucks County, but what's going on in the other parts of the district?
All right, so far we've been told Philadelphia has 30 of their 33 precincts in. With 30 of the 33 in, Mike Fitzpatrick is down 145. Now counter that to in 06 when we lost that same region by around 1,000, almost 1,100 votes. So this is fantastic news for the Fitzpatrick. We're just ecstatic that we're only down 145 in Philly.
Okay, so do you think that there will be a winner tonight, or is this going to be close back just the same as in 2006? Will they have to wait a couple days to find out?
My own prediction, no. I think we'll have a winner tonight. I know where the numbers are. We are up. We won Mike in 06 by 1,000. We were never tracking this high any part during the night. I did the numbers then, I did them now. These numbers are very, very, very high, and some of the districts that are in are our weak districts, which only bodes well.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think the numbers are so strong this time around?
People want to change. I read it and see it in their faces. I hear them at the polls. When I hear a Democratic committee man voting for Fitzpatrick because he's sick and tired, and that's a factual, there's a need out there for change, and people know it. We cannot continue on this path, and this has got to be a message to the president. We're not going to put up with these kind of things you're trying to jam down our throat.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pat Borick, the Vice Chair of the Bucks County Republican Party. The energy is really high here tonight. We'll keep on bringing those numbers to you as we get them. But for now, I'm live in Doylestown. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks very much. A lot of optimism in the Fitzpatrick camp. And in fact, in a lot of Republican headquarters around the country tonight.
That's right.
All right, we'll take a look at some of the national races, things we haven't looked at before. Now, here's a case where a Republican is going up against a popular governor in the Senate race in West Virginia. It's a closely watched race. Could this be a bellwether race tonight? Well, you have the Democrat, in this case, Manchin. I mentioned he's a popular figure in West Virginia, and he's outed to the lead, 55% to 45% over John Racy in West Virginia.
Appears to be holding on to that seat for the Democrats. And now we're looking at the race for U.S. Senate in Connecticut. This one, just 9% of the precincts in, as you can see, but Blumenthal right now, the Democrat, out to the lead so far in that one over Linda McMahon. This is in Connecticut, so all of these Senate seats, obviously, close eye in all these races going on across the country.
Including this one. It was an uphill battle for the Tea Party favorite Christine O'Donnell in Delaware, and won't be able to pull this off tonight. You have Coons out in front with a solid 59%, and that one's 85% counted for all intents and purposes at this point. So it looks like, though Christine O'Donnell may remain on the political scene, it doesn't look like she'll be able to capture that seat for. And here's a case where this balance of power in the Senate was, this could figure into that, because it was thought that Mike Castle, should he have won in the primary, would possibly take this race and put it in the R column for the Senate in Delaware. But the Democrat Coons is going to do it tonight.
That's right. Okay, now we're going Charlie. Rubio taking 50% of the vote in this one so far with 57%. This is not a huge surprise. A lot of people liked Rubio going into this as the Republican. He's kind of an up-and-comer in the Republican Party. Heard his name being tossed around as a possible VP candidate if this one, for 2012, if he was able to pull this one out. And obviously some good numbers here for him right now in Florida.
Yep. A powerful victory, a resounding victory for Rubio in Florida tonight. So that's another one of the big races we're following. Another Florida race, governor's race. Rich Scott and Alex Sink there. Chris being the former governor there. And you have the Republican Scott out in front with 53% of the vote to 47% for Alex Sink. Just a 6-point margin, and just over half of the state of Florida counted. So that's where the Florida governor's race stands. One of 37 governorships we're watching tonight across the country.
All right, speaking of the governor's races, this one's for South Carolina. We have Rick Scott, the Republican right now, over Alex Sink in that race. Or I'm sorry, we're looking
Skipping
at
to
Sheenan.
South Carolina. Yeah,
Here we go. Sheenan and then Haley in this one. We have the Democrat out in the lead. My board catches up with the one we had before. 28% of the precincts reporting here so far, so still early. Democrats having a slight lead in that one.
One of the big stories of the evening is Congress and the balance of power in Congress. And if you go to WFMZ.com and look at the Election Central site and voter information page, there's a wealth of information, and you can look at pictures or images like this. This actually is a grab from our web page on the balance of power in the House. There are 435 House seats, and this is how things have gone so far this evening. There are still 293 seats yet to be decided, and it is thought, and we mentioned this earlier, that the GOP has or will by the end of the night have taken over control of the House with in excess possibly of 50 seats gained.
Right. Here we have the Senate. And Republicans hoping to pick up a few seats here in this one as well. As you're seeing, 20 undecided there. The Democrats still have the majority in this one, 47-33. And we can talk to Dr. Borick a bit about the balance of power in both of this for Congress. Obviously, Republicans very hopeful to be picking up as many seats as they can, and it looks like they're going to have the victories they wanted, at least for the House.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a matter of margin now, Wendy. The Republicans, if you're looking at some of the early swing districts across the country that were in play, enough of them are heading the Republicans' way. And I think what we're going to probably see is if we're on pace, the same pace we're on right now, for somewhere around a 50 to 60 seat gain for Republicans nationally.
The House, it was thought that might happen, 50 to 60. What about the Senate? Is that a possibility for a GOP takeover, or is that looking slim? Yeah,
that's a great question, Rob. And I think it's looking more and more slim as we go on through the night. When you saw the loss or Democratic victories in West Virginia, Connecticut, and Delaware. 3 states, Delaware wasn't really seen as being in play, but absolutely Connecticut and West Virginia were places where Republicans thought they might be able to pull an upset. And without those upsets, it's going to be a tougher, the math gets a lot tougher for them to win. They basically have to run the board the rest of the night on the West Coast and in places like Nevada to do it. It's going to be close, but I really think that the Democrats have a really strong possibility or probability of controlling the Senate after tonight.
In a nutshell, what does that do then in Washington in terms of how government will work? The White House Democratic and the 2 houses of Congress split.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, in many ways, what we're going to see is gridlock, and we've seen this before in Washington. It's going to put an interesting dynamic into play where you have a Democratic president, a slightly Democratic-controlled Senate, and a strongly controlled Republican House. Will there be enough common ground to push these parties together, and will they go the extra mile? With a presidential election coming up in 2012, it's a really interesting strategic game where Republicans might not be that willing to go far in the direction of compromising with President Obama. Well, I think President Obama needs to make a move to the center to win back some of the votes he and his party are losing tonight. So the whole dynamic's going to be changed come January, and it really is going to be one where it'll be interesting to see which party makes more of an inroad to work with the other.
All right, Chris Borick from Muhlenberg College, thanks again for your insights, and we'll talk to you in just a bit.
That's right. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to Election Central, and we are going to go right back to the numbers and to the governor's race in Pennsylvania, one of the most closely watched races, certainly for us tonight. And here's how it's shaping up so far. We're right at 50% of the state's precincts reporting. And they don't come in evenly from across the state necessarily, but 50% of the total number of precincts. Corbett now into a slight lead there. He had been trailing Honorado in the early going. This says 51% for Corbett to 49% for Honorado. And the Corbett people had been saying, watch for later returns to come in and boost Tom Corbett's numbers. Seems to be working that way.
And that one just changed in the last 30 seconds. It had been 50-50, and you can see Corbett's numbers going up now, 51-49. So he's starting to get that lead that a lot of his people were anticipating as more of the numbers from the suburban areas and the more rural areas start pouring in.
Right.
Okay.
And the Senate race in Pennsylvania, one of the other big ones for tonight. And you see Joe Sestak, the Democrat, is holding on to a lead as we now hit 53% of the districts in Pennsylvania reporting. Joe Sestak, the Democrat, Pat Toomey, the former Lehigh Valley congressman, the Republican, has 48% of those votes tallied so far. Our reporters are covering this race, of course. Joscelyn Moes is with the Sestak campaign at the Radnor Hotel in St. David's, Delaware County. Joscelyn?
Hi guys, you probably can't see all the people here behind me just because of the way we're situated, but let me tell you, this place is packed. Energy is in the air as the numbers keep coming in. Now this has been quite a campaign. Now we're joined now by someone who worked on that campaign, Patrick Considine. Thank you for joining us. Now tell me, how did you get involved in all of this?
Well, I first got to know Admiral Sestak 4 years ago when he started running for Congress, and I've been involved in his campaigns then, and I've been working harder and harder when he decided to run for Senate.
Now a lot of hard work. Tell me about some of the jobs, some of the different hats you were wearing to help out on this campaign.
I've knocked on hundreds and hundreds of doors. I've made thousands, literally thousands of phone calls. I've delivered yard signs and planted them all across the state. I've attended rallies and various events and handed out literature. I've marched in parades, and I've given speeches on energy and environment topics and other things that I'm interested in.
You've done a lot of work. Any estimate on how many hours you've put in here?
I guess just on this campaign, I've probably put in about 300 hours, give or take.
Now, what's the mood here at the Radnor Hotel? What's going through your mind right now?
Well, I think everybody is coming in. Almost everybody you see here was probably out in the field today, either knocking on doors, making phone calls, or doing other campaign work. So people are tired, but they're very optimistic, very exuberant, and we're looking forward to a big celebration.
And you're staying here throughout the night. You're not leaving, right?
No, I'm not leaving until I hear Admiral Sestak's speech and shake his hand.
Shake his hand. Thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us. I do appreciate it. Now, Joe Sestak is here at the hotel, although he has not made an appearance downstairs yet, and there's no word on when that's going to happen. But again, the mood here, as Patrick said, very optimistic. Let's send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right. Thanks, Joscelyn.
Thank you, Joscelyn. And, of course, Pat Toomey is the Republican candidate who is trailing in these latest numbers. John Derr is following the Toomey people at Fogelsville. John?
Yeah, hi, Rob. Everybody's been glued to the television series watching those numbers, which have not looked good for Pat Toomey yet, but it's been getting closer and closer. And joining us now is Bobby Gunther Walsh, of course, from WAEB. He's also the Master of Ceremonies here tonight. Yep. Bobby, thanks for joining us. And even though Pat's been trailing in the numbers, you said there's been some positive numbers out there for this campaign.
Yeah, there's some numbers that they were trying to hit and marks they need to hit, and they're hitting them. For example, in Allegheny County, it's Joe Sestak's up. In Allegheny, in Pittsburgh in particular, but Allegheny County, he's got the vote 57-42. We didn't even need to get 42% of the vote to stay in the race. And Allegheny County is much like Philadelphia. I mean, it's a very urban area, and Pat carried that in the primary years ago against Sestak big time, but now it's a general election, and that's a whole different ball game, and it's still heavily Democratic. So he's in the race is nice and tight there. I mean, it doesn't seem tight, 57-42, but 42% in a heavily Democratic area, that's a good number for us, and that bodes well for the rest of the state.
Now, you've said one of the big keys, of course, in this state is Philadelphia.
Yes, yeah, because obviously that's Joe Sestak country, and how the turnout there is going to be important for him. Now, according to Fox, they had most precincts were reporting under 30% turnout, so that's good news. And as you're looking sometimes at some of the totals you guys are putting up or that Fox is putting up, and you say 44% of the vote counted, it's really not 44% of the vote, it's 44% of the precincts. You have no idea what 44% of the vote is till you have a total number. So some precincts could have a ton more votes coming in, some may not. So it's really hard to figure out where we stand.
We were talking earlier saying that it seems like there's more independent voters than ever out there. What does a candidate like Pat Toomey have to do to woo them to his side?
I think he's done what he had to do to woo them to his side. Honestly, I think he ran a cleaner race than Joe Sestak, more centered on the issues. And I also think he showed his independence. I can tell you what, he showed his independence by running against the party. He showed his independence years ago as a freshman congressman by telling them they needed to get a rein on spending and holding up a couple of votes, and that didn't sit well with the Republicans in Washington. But Pat was independent down there. He's independent on his judicial appointments. I think he shows that he's a gentleman, that he's willing to reach across the aisle. And because the people, I think we want to get back to right of center. I think this is a right of center country. And even after President Obama won, the analysts were saying that. But they still want people not to necessarily compromise, but to be more civil about what's going on in Washington. They definitely, I think, as much as this is a backlash about Obamacare and all the other stuff, it's a backlash about not just what was done, but how it was done. I mean, they shoved it down our throats. We didn't want it. We didn't want the bailouts, and they just said, the heck with you, we're doing it anyway. So it isn't just what they did, it's how they did it. They ignored the will of the people, and people were mad about that.
If the Republicans do take over the House, which it looks like they will, but Democrats remain in control in the Senate, what do you think is going to happen in Washington? Are we going to have gridlock?
That could be good. Yeah, if we have gridlock, that could be a good thing, because we just might need that. We need to slow down this massive spending and all of these social entitlement programs that Americans clearly said they don't want. I mean, do you remember the town hall meetings before they voted on it, and Arlen Specter being yelled at and all that stuff, and how they avoided going home to town hall meetings? The American public was telling them we don't want it, and they didn't listen. I mean, it is supposed to be a representative form of government, and they weren't representative.
Well, people having their voices heard tonight, though, with a vote.
Yeah, hopefully. And we heard a big cheer come up. Yep. I'm not sure what that was all about, but hopefully we're hanging in there. They've already declared it for Corbett, I'm told. And we're not, and he was still trailing at that point when they declared it, and we were not that far behind Sestak, you know, compared to what Corbett at that time was behind on Arano. So, I don't know, we're cautiously optimistic.
All right, Bobby, appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. And we heard some applause here, so hopefully the numbers they're hoping here are getting closer for Pat Toomey. Rob Wendy, back to you.
All right, it is a tight one. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks. A brief break, and we'll be back with a brief recap of our news at 10 o'clock, right after this break.
Ski's 2011 budget proposal.
He is set to...
Just another day at the...
Closed captioning is sponsored by Lee.
All right, and welcome back to this edition of Election Central. And the further in we get, the more interesting things seem to be getting.
Republicans seem to think they would get a leg up on this one this year. That's been the trend and the expectation, and it is happening tonight. It does appear in the House. Let's go to our congressional races and touch on them just a little bit. The U.S. Congress 6th District. This is a Berks County area and some other counties as well, Chester and Montgomery. Jim Gerlach trying for a 5th term. It's a close race. Look at that, about 1,000 votes plus separating Gerlach from Democrat challenger Manon Trivedi, 51% to 49%. So that's a close one. Republicans in the House in Pennsylvania are doing well. Gerlach has himself another tight one.
And we're going to go to Pam Cunningham now. She is at Gerlach headquarters, standing by with the very latest from there. Hi, Pam.
Hi, guys. Well, as you heard, we're here at Ludwig's Oysters Bar and Grill, where Gerlach's supporters and friends are waiting to hear the results. And as you said, right now it looks like he's ahead, and they're anticipating that that's the way it's going to go tonight. But no one is ready to say that the race is over just yet. Obviously, they're going to wait for those results to come in. And as you said, Berks County, Montgomery County, Chester County, these are all parts of Gerlach's district. And one of the results that we'll be waiting for a little bit is Chester County, if history is any indication. So we're here today with Frida Getz, who's a volunteer who was at the polls earlier in Chester County, and we just wanted to find out what was, because we're going to be waiting on the results for a little bit, what were you hearing at the polls this afternoon?
People were very enthusiastic going in. They seemed to be very determined as they were walking in. I didn't know whether they were Republican or Democrat, but when they came out, they made it clear to me that they were Republican, and they were very happy to have cast their vote.
Now, what are some of the issues that people were telling you about? Why were they going in there to vote? Why were they motivated today?
I believe a lot of it was because they feel like the country is moving away from the Constitution and how it was founded and what it was founded on, and they want smaller government, and they were making that clear today. They were angry. I've never seen that before.
Now, Congressman Jim Gerlach wasn't prepared to say that he won tonight, but he was excited to sort of talk about what the wave is sort of happening in this country. Do you think that the Republicans are going to take the House?
I believe they will definitely take the House. I don't know about the Senate, but I've thought they would take the House all along. People will make their voice heard. I've been to many Tea Party events in D.C. I've knocked on doors down there, and people are going to make the silent majority is not silent anymore.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. Sure. Well, you've heard it from here. Many Republicans are obviously excited tonight, looking at all these results across the country, and that's sort of giving them hope for tonight and for this race against Mann and Trivedi for the 6th Congressional District. Reporting live in Chester County, I'm Pam Cunningham for 69 News.
Okay, Pam, thanks very much. And to the Lehigh Valley congressional race, we'll get another look at that. Charlie Dent, the incumbent, is facing a challenge from two men, John Callahan, the mayor of Bethlehem, and Jake Town. And here we go with 71% of the districts reporting our latest tabulation. Charlie Dent has a lead of 16 percentage points over John Callahan, 55% to 39%, and then 6% being polled at this point by the independent candidate Jake Town. Some early polls had him with smaller numbers than that. So Jake Town is actually drawing some votes tonight. And Charlie Dent is out in the lead and looking like that's a fairly comfortable lead at this point. I think it's safe to say 16 percentage points.
Yeah, especially with 71% of the precincts reporting there. Well, we're going to go out to Callahan headquarters right now. Will Lewis is standing by there in Bethlehem Township. And Will, what's the feeling like there right now?
Okay, we don't have Will. We don't have Will right now. We'll get to Will in just a little bit, and our reporter covering Charlie Dent as well. Maybe we can bring in Dr. Chris Borick from Muhlenberg College on this to talk about that. He's been giving some expert analysis of the races tonight. We're looking at this Lehigh Valley race, and I know you and the people at Muhlenberg who do the polling that we talk about so much in the news have looked at how this was going. Is this with a 16 percentage point lead for Charlie Dent going about as you thought it might?
Yeah, Rob, it's holding to about form. We haven't done a poll in 3 weeks in that race, but the last time we did it, we had Congressman Dent with about a 17-point lead over Mayor Callahan and Jake Town with around 5% in that race. It's always been in a difficult year for Democrats, an uphill battle for John Callahan. The Democrats were very excited about his candidacy. I think he's been able to work hard and raise some money in this race. But Charlie Dent is a tough local candidate in the sense that he's able to win Democratic votes even in years when it's not a great year for Republicans. And this year, with the wind at his back and the ability to take some of those Democratic votes, it looks like he's well positioned to retain his seat and go back to Congress.
Yeah, some of the Democratic movers and shakers of the Valley have said going into this that this was their strongest candidate in a long time. So now they're probably looking at this and saying, right candidate, wrong year. If we'd had him in one of those other years, then the Democrats would hold this seat possibly.
I think you're right. I think the candidates, they did recruit Mayor Callahan, and again, I think he did a strong job overall in his campaign. It's just he's going up against a very, very good candidate in the sense that, as I said before, that Charlie Dent's able to win Democratic votes. The climate is not conducive to Democrats, and it's really going to push him in terms, or push Mayor Callahan to do something exceptional in this race. And as of right now, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get past that line.
All right, Dr. Borick, thank you very much. And we are going to check in at Callahan headquarters now. We're told that Will Lewis is standing by out there. And Will, what's the feeling like there now?
Well, Wendy, the scene is still great. Everybody's still watching the returns, and even though Charlie Dent has a slimly, or the lead is increasing, people are still optimistic. I want to go ahead and bring in Callahan's supporter, of course, Mayor Sal Panto, Mayor of Easton. And Mayor Panto, first of all, with the Callahan